Diesen Satz werden wir nicht nur einmal sprechen. Wir haben Besuch aus den Niederlanden. Die aktuelle Nummer 33 der Welt, ein viermaliger WM-Teilnehmer. Herzlich willkommen, the Machine Gun Jermaine Wattimena.
Gezellig, blijf de glazen vullen met nog meer alcohol. We zijn niet meer te houden, gooi de bankjes lekker vol. We zitten hangen liggen, zo zijn we niet getrouwd.
Jermaine Wattimena nimmt es auf mit einer ehemaligen Nummer 1 der BDO. 2015 kam er zur PDC. Inzwischen ist er einer aus den Top 30 als Nummer 28 der Welt. Die Rede ist von Lethal Biscuit, James Wilson. Und Caller dieses Matches ist der Calculator Kirk Bevins.
Well, he may have only won one match on the European Tour this year, but James Wilson, he's still smiling, make no mistake about that. One of the happiest men in darts against one of the happiest men in Holland. Jermaine Wattimena, always glad to be on the European Tour stage, always delighted to be here, and it's something that he's doing pretty well at as well of late, you have to say. He's got a good record in qualifying for these European Tour events of late. This is his 6th in succession. He's only failed to qualify for one this year, Jermaine Wattimena, and he is having the time of his life. A man who reached back-to-back semi-finals on the Pro Tour in June as well, and he almost caused a bit of an upset in the first round at the World Match Play, losing to James Wade by 12 legs to 10 in the opening round. Intriguing setup, this one. You can certainly make a case for either. Wilson could do with rediscovering some sort of European form against a man who, in Jermaine Wattimena, will soon be seeded as well for one of these Euro Tour events. Dan Dawson alongside me, Rob Malarkey, for this one.
Yeah, we talked earlier on in the day, it'd be interesting seeing players after the break over August, and some of them even longer than that, the ones who weren't involved in the Bet Victor World Match Play. Jermaine Wattimena certainly was in some great form in the weeks leading up to the break. As you say, the back-to-back semi, but regularly putting in big performances on the European Tour. And I think that if he can have a second portion of 2018 like the first, then the world is his oyster, because he's just getting better and better and better.
First leg, it's James to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, worth noting too that prior to the European Darts Grand Prix in Sindelfingen this year, Wattimena had never made it to the final day of a European Tour event, but he's now made the last 16 on 3 occasions. As Wilson sets the tone and sets the ball rolling with a 180. Just to remind Wattimena that he too is a very capable player on his day. Wattimena making the last 16 in the European Darts Grand Prix in Zwolle, in Gibraltar, but not since then. But an impeccable record in qualifying, which he embellished last night, beating Rusty Jake Rodriguez and another Austrian in Hannes Schneer, 6-4 and 6-2.
Well, that's it for a guy who never made the final day, and then he does it 3 times in succession. I mean, that's 9 grand on his European Order of Merit there. Just doing that in 3 running tournaments pretty much gets him 80% of the way to being at the European Championship and guaranteeing himself more money.
98.
And that does mean that this next 3-week period, with this tournament, the one in Maastricht and then Riesa, we could have somebody who's
38.
not done anything really on the European circuit this year suddenly catapult themselves into the reckoning, really announce that they're in form, and be one of the players to watch going to the European Championship and various other tournaments you've got coming up.
60.
And I think I'm right in saying that Wilson was effectively penalised in a way by being elevated to one of the seeds in Hamburg. Is that right? He was not initially down as one of the seeds and then lost in the second round to Robert Thornton. And then all of a sudden, that counts for nothing as far as your ranking is concerned.
I think.
Or was he?
I think in the end, because you've played the qualifier, you're all right.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Which was always
there is a specific rule saying if you're bumped up into the seeds,
then you still get it. Yeah, I always thought that was a bit unfair, so I'm glad they've looked into that.
59. James requires 65.
But anyway, he's not gone beyond the second round this year, James Wilson, on the European Tour. He needs to step it up. Just £6,000 on the Order of Merit in Europe. Wilson looking at 65 for a holder throw. Wattimena ready to pounce on double 4.
Oh,
that's too good.
$57.
Well,
Jermaine, you require 8.
He was left with 15.
That isn't one you wanted to go for, James.
He was looking at double 6, or he should have been looking at double 6, but
now we're looking at double
8.
4. James Wilson has got away with that massively.
Yes, on the first leg, James Wilson.
Wilson playing his get out of jail free card in the very first leg, and he holds throw for a 1-0 lead.
96.
Yeah, James Wilson there. If he wanted to go for double 4, he should have been looking at single 7. Single 3, left double 6. We knew it, our spotter knew it, the cameras knew it, all of you guys at home knew it. Biscuit didn't.
7. $100.
That one match that Wilson has won this year, by the way, was against a Johan Engström in Zwolle. Well done if you remembered that.
The Sweet Ferret.
Is that who? Yeah.
I think that's the Sweet Ferret. And I think, is he qualified for another one?
56.
We might be seeing him this month, you know.
But Wilson has also suffered 3 first-round defeats
60.
in his last 6 Pro Tour events as well. So home and away, he's having a bit of a rough ride of it. But there were some encouraging signs earlier this year with a semi-final and 3 quarter-final appearances in the space of 5 events or so in March and April.
Yeah, goes through these purple patches, says James Wilson. How he would love to go through one of those now.
100.
Yes, the Sweet Ferret has qualified for Maastricht. So,
Clearly,
well,
likes playing in Holland. Then.
Maybe, yeah. I will double check that. I thought he had.
134. Jermaine requires 145.
Well,
129.
3 trebles for Jermaine Wattimena, and it does get him down to a handy double upon which to finish and get his first leg on the board, potentially.
Yeah, it's the Ferret, by the way, who are winner of this one. Johnny Clayton.
Jermaine requires 16.
The champion in Austria earlier this year, as Wattimena takes out double 8 for a 1-1 scoreline.
Game on.
But yeah, such is the measure of the steady consistency that Wattimena has shown both in Europe and to some extent on the Pro Tour as well in the Players' Championship. He will be one of the 16 seeds in Riesa in a couple of weeks' time. He's currently 20th on the Pro Tour Order of Merit, 1 or 2 absentees. in Riesa later this month, middle of September.
60.
And perhaps the signs were there for Wattimena early on this year. I do recall when he played Gary Anderson at the UK Open, only 10-7 against the eventual champion. That all suggested that perhaps he was ready to take the next step.
140.
And he's certainly going the right way about it.
I can confirm the Sweet Ferret won't be appearing. I do beg your pardon. He did beat Darius Labanauskas in one of the qualifiers.
Is it Magnus who qualified for that, by the way?
Karis and Cantili we will be seeing.
So, if you're listening, Johan, don't panic.
134.
Sorry, Johan. Don't need to book a flight to Holland the next week.
Sweet Ferret furiously going through last-minute deals to see if he could get anywhere. But Jermaine Wattimena has a chance to throw here.
52. Jermaine 50.
Well, the crowd are certainly making a lot of noise this evening. Cracking atmosphere at Halle 39 and a cracking finish by Jermaine. Well,
I think it's Jermaine to throw first.
Fluid movement about Wattimena at times. It's really eye-catching stuff. And it's a break of throw as well,
Game on.
more significantly.
Well, he's been bossing this game, Jermaine Wattimena. It's only by virtue of missing
59.
a whole bunch of darts in that very first leg that James Wilson has managed to get a leg on the board. He is only averaging in the mid-70s right now. The biscuit is anything. And that's despite kicking off with a 180 in his very first visit. Since then, there's not been much to get excited about from the Yorkshireman. Look at that. 15 points in the... If that carries on,
17.
there is no way that Jermaine Wattimena is going to lose this game. Adrian Lewis, the two-time world champion, on after this. Picks of tonight's matches. Terry the Bull Jenkins back in Euro Tour action against a man who got the same flight over with him. Ross Smith.
60.
Robert Thornton, the three-time major champion and all-time great, against Robert Marjanovic, Danny Noppert and Ricky Evans. Penultimate game of the night. Rapid Ricky looking to succeed where his good mate Dave Pallett failed and win in the opening round. And Cristo Reyes, the second Spaniard in action, taking on the teenage prospect from Germany, Nico Flower Power Bloom.
Every time I've seen Nico Bloom today, he's been carrying his shirt on a hanger. You know that red and white stripe?
Oh, yeah.
He just reluctant to put it down anywhere and leave it in case somebody might run off with it. He's protecting it like a child.
Probably hot property here. There's a lot of very enthusiastic German darts fans.
138.
Well, it hasn't really happened for James Wilson this year. Talked about that semi-final earlier this year on the... Went close to his maiden title at the end of last year. That was in the final Players' Championship event of the year. Made the final, lost to Johnny Clayton. Went close in Dublin as well. Made the semi-finals in October of last year.
61.
But it wasn't to be, and so far he hasn't had too many opportunities to go close again.
99. Jermaine requires 28.
Now looking at modus operandi. Now looking at... Oh, he's busted score. He was looking for 188, but he hit the single 20.
62.
So a let off here for Wilson. This might just let him make a note of that in potential match turning points. Leg 4.
56 left. 20 for double 18.
That was his chance. So Wattimena take 2 on double 14. This time it's much more like it.
James to throw
No
first.
and this time.
Game on.
Right smile from Wattimena. He knows he made a mess of the first go, and he was still able to have another opportunity.
60.
Yeah, Wilson's average 74 or so.
60.
This does not look like a man who is so ready for the tour action.
Eat your words, Dan. Eat your words. He heard you.
This is his second 180.
But he needs more of that, and he needs to do it on a more consistent basis as well. It's all well and good firing in 180s here and there, but he needs to just put together a solid string of visits just to get himself going.
128.
Does do that more than most players, James Wilson. If he blocks the treble 20, he'll move to the treble 18 rather than down to the treble 19.
Change you require 133.
Worked well for him there, and he is miles ahead in this leg. First time he's found himself in this position, really.
$97.
Well, that'll leave him double 18, which he does like.
99. Change you require 36. On the fifth leg, James Wilson. So like it's Jermaine
Out of nowhere, a 13 darter. Maybe James Wilson has darts championship.
Well, he needs to put in a leg like that on the Wattimena throw. Wattimena has started slowly in this leg. Can Wilson jump all over that visit of 58? Just the ton.
$96.
McElkin, Diogo Portela still here this weekend after losing in qualifying last night. Kyle Anderson watching on as well. He's safely through after beating Lee Bryant earlier today, a match in which he threatened the 9 darter. Well, say threatened, it went very close. 8 out of 9.
100.
Well, do not be surprised if we have perfection threatened again this evening with the play. Both of these guys quite capable. I mean, James Wilson is a 180 machine when he's got his eye in.
31.
He hits them as regularly as pretty much anybody else on the Pro Tour, week in, week out. And that's even when he's not picking up
60.
the results and the wins
30.
that he has done when he goes through those purple patches. He does hit a lot of 180s, James Wilson. Hit 2 so far in this one. That doesn't really help him much.
60. JJ required.
So, could get a dart at the bullseye, could get a couple double, all kinds of possibilities here. It is 2 at double 14.
Ace on the 6th leg, James Wilson.
James Wilson has gone 13 darter, 14 darter. So in the last couple of legs, Wilson is averaging round about the 110 mark. That is, after the previous 4 legs, he was averaging in the mid-70s. He's up as the lethal biscuit.
It is like he has flicked a switch and suddenly it's all coming together.
140.
And there's a ton 40 for good measure at the start of leg 7 as well. 16.
134.
9 dart legs so far this year, plus we saw on the Asian tour. Wattimena was on the receiving end of one of those as well against Michael Van Gerwen in a UK Open qualifier. And then having posted a ton 40 just to get his hopes up, along comes the flip side of it all.
60.
Still okay here though, Wilson.
Well, we saw some very, very good displays this afternoon. Ron Muhlenkamp, the best performer of the day so far, with an average of more than 102 in his 6-2 victory over Richard North. Kyle Anderson nearly produced perfection, missing double 12 for the 9 darter, but it was overall not a particularly stunning performance.
Darren Thompson's finishing was brilliant again.
It was.
As well.
What was it, 6 out of 8, 75%. Darren Johnson. Christoph Ratajski dragged his average up to almost 95 in a win over Vincent Van in the final game of the day. We've not really seen anything so far tonight to rival those top performances. Doesn't need to go for this.
58.
Gone for it anyway. Jermaine Wattimena on 166, that's a bogey number. He could have just set that up, James Wilson.
100. Change required 25.
To go into the lead.
Just the 2 darts at Wilson. Was very close to the single 12 there. Double 4 now for Wilson.
21. Jermaine Uruguay 66.
Tops.
26. And Uruguay 4.
He is quick, isn't he, Wattimena? He was a long way off with that dart at double 20. Steely focus of James Wilson as he targets double 2 for a 4-3 lead. Exactly what he has. He's won 3 on the spin here.
Game on.
It was a 20 dart leg for James Wilson on that occasion.
85.
A 13 darter, a 14 darter, a 20 darter. You won't mind about that, he has the lead.
Well, pick a winner out of this one because I have absolutely no idea. James Wilson, he's found his range and then he goes off a boil again, but Jermaine Wattimena just can't punish him. It's just very, very scrappy right now. There is barely
85.
anything in the averages. They're both in the low 80s right now. But whereas Wilson has dragged his up over the last 3 legs, Wattimena's has been dragged down by a good 10 points from earlier on in the game. And if that is symptomatic of a trend that will continue, then James Wilson, you would expect, is going to ease through to the second round and set up that clash with the Ferret. Clayton, number 7 seed here this weekend.
Chance here for Wilson to steal the darts though. Awkward first dart, but he switched effectively.
77.
Wrong side of the wire, James, with the last one.
Another one in there. 1-7 to leave
71.
Great reaction from Wattimena as well. That glare towards his corner. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Where's it been for the last 3-4 legs?
59. Jermaine Uruguay 100.
Lovely.
Oh, it's a shame that he wasn't able to wrap it up. I mean, that it just looked as though it was there for the taking, didn't it? Should be okay though with Wilson on 208.
Well, it should be, but they can be awkward, those finishes of 10, can't they? If you go at the 5, miss outside, miss inside, and all of a sudden you're stood there with one dart in your hand and nothing to do.
58. Jermaine Uruguay 10.
Well, there's one inside. Doesn't bust his score.
Okay,
And pins that double 2.
9 legged James to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, didn't get too bogged down there, did he, Wattimena? That was a good recovery from what was a potential dangerous situation.
Well, so a determined look on Jermaine Wattimena's face, and you know what? It's not something I've seen very often. He's usually very, very sort of
136.
inscrutable on stage. That's why over the last sort of 3 or 4 months, we've seen him come out of his shell, particularly on his walk-ons.
Yeah.
All started at the Dutch Darts Masters, didn't it? Where he just really wants to enjoy himself, and he's in front of his. And he's actually opened up a little bit more, and I think he feels a little bit more comfortable.
I mean, there is still this thing where the veil comes down once the match starts, and you know you see that.
He doesn't give much away, but you could just see him there looking over to his manager Macca and just sort of gritting his teeth and saying, I know I'm not playing well, but I can still find out a result.
140.
It's quite nice to see.
Yeah.
130.
And here's a player, Wattimena, who's put in some really good stuff on the Pro Tour and on the European Tour as well. I think he knows how close he is to taking that next step. Like I mentioned, he's going to be one of the in a couple of weeks' time, and he knows what's at stake here in terms of his career and that next progression. And maybe that's part of the reason why we're seeing
Well, look, we mentioned a couple of times the back-to-back semi-finals. He could have made the final on both days. He perhaps should have made the final in at least one. He missed darts to do so in one, and then he was sat on a finish, and Peter Wright took out 164, I think, in the last leg decider in the semi-final for the other one. Could have been in the finals on both days. The way he's playing, he could well have won them both. That's a great dart. And that may be a pivotal moment. A 14-dart leg from Jermaine Wattimena.
Jermaine to throw first.
And the game swings back in his favour. He's got in spells. 3 legs for Wattimena, 3 legs for Wilson.
58.
Yeah, just when it looks as though Wilson had taken control, it looks as though things were going well for Wilson, because 20 darts, for example, when he went 4-3 to the good, but once again it has turned once more, and there we see Wattimena, a 14-dart leg for a 5, throwing first in this leg, in this 10th leg as well.
96.
Look, I mean, there were 3 20-plus dart legs there, and quite frankly, that's not the standard we're used to seeing, even in these opening days in the European Tour.
140.
And certainly not from these two. But they could have gone either way, and those 3 legs, they're worth exactly the same as
96.
a 9, 10, 11 darter. Whoever wins this will walk away thinking they've dodged a bullet. Whoever loses it will be absolutely fuming, so thinking I could have been even 5%. I could have romped home.
$55.
Again, James Wilson might be wrestling this round to his advantage. Great dart. Another great dart. Set up shot.
Absolutely brilliant. Wattimena didn't do himself any favours in the build-up to that, but Wilson certainly
60.
satisfying his side of the equation. And that has left him this opportunity with double 8 for a 13-dart break of throw for James Wilson to take us into a decider. Brilliant, brilliant play by...
Final leg is James to throw first. Game on.
That's what he can do. Playing the sort of darts that has got him close to securing titles in the past.
100.
On a handful of occasions. Will it be enough to carry him through here?
60.
Sun plays 60, advantage Wilson.
Nothing in the overall averages. Bit higher in the first 9 for James Wilson.
140.
That another 2 treble visit for James Wilson. He's significantly higher than Jermaine Wattimena in those 2 treble visits, as you see there, the 130 plus scores.
140.
Although that's another one in the column for Jermaine. What a last leg.
140.
Really stuff. James Wilson, look, it has been fitful. There have been some very, very average darts thrown by both men in it. But James Wilson has found just enough at a crucial couple of times to give himself opportunities. He has missed the 11s. He didn't need to go that route. I'm not sure why he did, to be honest. Jermaine is not down to a finish.
89.
But that will give him 3 match darts. Double 16 will be the target. Could be back-to-back 13 darters for the Yorkshireman to knock out Jermaine Wattimena in another last leg decider. And that is what he has done. The lethal biscuit, benign for large parts of that match, but right at the end he found his edge, and 2 13 darters gets him over the line from 5-4 down. It will be the lethal biscuit versus the ferret in the second round tomorrow. And coming up, perhaps the biggest game of the day in action. It is Jackpot, the 2-time world champion.